everyone, this is Sadie, Lady Crazy Plant Lady, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're in a little bit of a different area, so you might be able to tell that Cody and I recently moved into our first home, so the plants behind me are set up a little differently than what you saw on the houseplant tour in the apartment. So I want to first off thank you guys for supporting and watching my first video. It was very exciting responding to all of your comments and seeing all of you guys liking and sharing and subscribing, so thank you for that. If you do like this video, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. I would love to hear some of your tips and tricks on how you've moved your houseplant collections in the past. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I can't wait for you to see it. So now that Cody and I are all moved into the new house, today's video is going to be all about moving our entire houseplant collection. So what we're going to use is we're going to be using bulb crates that I got from Udell Gardens at work that we get all of our bulb deliveries in. So I'm just going to be packing all of my plant containers in here along with their saucers, so then if I need to water in between transporting from house A to house B, I'll be able to water and not get water and plant material all over the place. I'll also be going in afterwards and stuffing around the plants with newspaper, Kroger bags, Walmart bags, and things like that, so that the plants don't knock around in the containers. So let's go ahead and get started, and we'll speed through this packing up process. That packs up most of the living room, all of the little stuff, and then all of the big stuff we'll put in larger boxes or just put in the U-Haul by themselves. So here's all of these succulents, cacti, and things I had in the bedroom packed into the bulb crates and ready to go. And then here's the living room plants. Alrighty, now that we've packed all of the small plants, we're gonna go ahead and stuff around the plants with some extra styrofoam that I have laying around, plastic bags, and also newspaper and other packing materials, and just go around stuffing in between each plant so that they don't shift during transport. So let's get to stuffing. After putting some of our furniture and appliances into the 15-foot U-Haul, I started loading all of the plant crates in. Once I got to moving the rolling cart, I decided to leave all of the plant material left hanging on it, and it worked pretty well. Once everything was loaded, we went to the new house and unloaded the plant material there, and it only took about 10 to 20 minutes to completely unload the U-Haul of all of the plant material. By leaving all of the plant material on the driveway, I was able to water afterward. So once everything was unpacked and the majority of our furniture was placed inside the house, I started placing all of our plants very randomly throughout the house, as I don't really know the sunlight in the house quite yet. So a lot of these will move eventually, and I plan to do an updated houseplant tour once everything's in its final location. So one thing you may notice is the plants are more spread out in the house, and some plants I don't have a place for yet. To finish up this video, there's a couple of things that I've definitely learned from this entire moving collections process. So there's a few things that I want to touch base on. First, the things that went really well, the things that I would change or do differently, and then some of my final thoughts through the moving process. So first off, things that went really well. Using the bulb crates was an absolutely fantastic idea. Being that they all had handles on them, they were extremely easy to carry a ton of plants all at once. So the majority of my collection is really small containers under a 6-inch pot. So stuffing them all in those bulb crates worked wonderful, and it was a lot easier to move than one pot at a time. So definitely, if you can get bulb crates anywhere or anything with a handle like milk crates or things like that, those are definitely going to be the easiest to move all of your plants with. The second thing that went really well is surprisingly the rolling cart. Whenever I put it into the U-Haul, you guys saw it in the clip, I simply left all of my hanging plants on the rolling cart and rolled it directly into the U-Haul, and that worked wonderfully. And there was one issue, but we'll talk about that in the next section. So what I would have done differently is, one, with the rolling cart, when I put it into the U-Haul, I didn't brace it to anything. So being we had all of those plants on the top that were really heavy, once we started driving, the rolling cart actually tipped over, which ended up being fine because the plants didn't go anywhere. They remained attached to the rolling cart, but it may have been a good idea just to attach it to the wall with a bungee strap or something like that. So then if there was anything more breakable on that rolling cart, it wouldn't have caused any damage. But it worked out just fine, but that's something I would definitely like to mention because I did not think of that when I was putting it into the U-Haul in the first place. Another thing that I would have changed is for the bulb crates, they're not very deep. So they might be the same depth as a 6-inch standard container, like a terracotta container, so they're not very deep. And what I should have done is planned even further ahead so that I put all of the really short plants all in one bulb crate together. So then once I got done packing that crate, I could stack them on top of each other and be able to utilize more space in the U-Haul. Compared to what I did is I paired a lot of small, big, all kinds of different shapes and size plants together, so then I couldn't stack the crates, so I wasn't able to maximize the space in the U-Haul. So that's another thing that I definitely would have changed. The last thing is getting a slightly larger U-Haul. So unfortunately, the only U-Haul that was available at the time that we used it was a 15-foot trailer, and it worked out wonderfully. We ended up doing 2 loads with the U-Haul, and then we did a couple of loads in our vehicles as well. So for the plants themselves, we did 1 trip in the U-Haul with plants, and being they were all laid out on the floor and they weren't stacked, that's pretty good. So if we would have stacked them, it would have been even better. And then we did 2 loads in my vehicle, which is a small SUV, of the bigger containers. So like what my coconut palm is, some of the really large containers that you can't put in the bulb crates. We had to do 2 trips after the fact in my car with those because they just didn't fit in the U-Haul. So I definitely recommend getting a slightly bigger U-Haul than what you think you need because these plants do take up a lot of space. So those are some things that went really well and what I would do differently. But other than that, it went fantastic. It was a lot of fun to make these little clips and videos for you guys to see the moving process. And some final thoughts that I have and conclusions that I made about myself is, one, I have a lot of houseplants, and 138 for some reason doesn't seem like a lot to me in my head. But it is a lot of plant material and it takes forever to move. We were able to do most of the moving within a 12-hour day, which is pretty good. And the plants really didn't take up that much time. Most of the time was involved in just packing them into the crates, but getting them into the U-Haul is really easy. And then the other thing that I learned is that most of my plants, being they are in small containers, they're also all sun-loving plants. So in the apartment, we all had south and southwest facing windows. So I had a lot of intense full sun window and sun exposure in the apartment, which is fantastic for all of my succulents and cacti and alocasias and things like that. So I have a lot of sun-loving plants. And once we got into the house, which we're now finally mostly settled in, all of my sun-loving plants don't have a home. They're all sitting in my kitchen floor, which is over there. And it's definitely made me realize what plants I do have. I never noticed how many sun-loving plants I have, but it's the majority of my collection. So in this house, we have a variety of sun exposures in our windows. So we have north, east, south, and west now, which is awesome, but not for all the plants that I had bought for south-facing windows without realizing. So that's definitely something that I've noticed about myself, and hopefully maybe I can convince Cody to let me build a greenhouse in the backyard. We'll see how that works. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, and comment below. I would love to hear all about your plant moving adventures and how you guys have moved your entire houseplant collections. So please start that conversation below, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys next week.